Dear Diary. I know it's been a while. Well, more like 4 years away in college. I'm sorry I never wrote, but I'm writing now. I guess the first thing is, I now live in America. In 2021, I committed to Youngstown State University and moved to Ohio. I studied journalism on a swimming scholarship. Being a part of a 70-plus people team teaches you none of us are the same, even if the umbrella we're all standing under is. But these differences, if we let them, can complete us in a way that make the most wonderful friendships. I've reached my dreams in swimming. Said goodbye to swimming. But I think there's beauty in saying that it wasn't all perfect. I had my heart broken once. Okay, maybe twice. But you know what they say, what doesn't kill you makes a great playlist. Afterwards, I threw myself into my studies, not just to learn, but to find stories. Stories no one else was telling. One of my pieces even made the front page. A professor discovering a galaxy. That's pretty cool. I even did a reel for an acting agency once. Jesus.
Well, we're both in sales. Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman.
And I learned how to ride a longboard. Well, almost. Now, I know what you're going to say. How does someone who believed college is just another thing you have to do to fit the society's mold end up here, reminiscing about it? Couldn't help but wonder, is the only thing that past ever teaches us is that we were wrong? That question clouded my mind for quite some time. And then I found this gentleman, Stanko Liljak. Born in 1884, deceased in 1978. My great-great-grandfather, the first of my kin to ever set foot on American soil in 1920s. From what my grandmother said, he was complicated. He never remarried, never had kids again, and the family didn't have much records of him. If I could figure out why he did it, why he left everything behind, maybe I'd have a shot of understanding what the hell am I doing here. So this story begins, mine and his, after 96 years in wonder. Before diving into my research, like a headless chicken, I met with local genealogist Tim Seaman to guide me on where I need to begin.
Could you say
my own surname, Seaman, S-E-M-A-N. Okay, it's really Simon. And you want to hear how an actual person living in Croatia, Slovakia, Serbia, Slovenia, any country, how they pronounce a particular word or particular surname in this case. The name Simon is almost without exception pronounced Simon. So there's my grandfather probably getting his driver's license in Pittsburgh. That would probably be the first official act while he was there, because he came over as a teenager. And he was asked to speak his name. And when he spoke his name, he said, Michael Simon. And the clerk, he or she, wrote what they heard. And it was SEMAN for him. It was SEMON for his brother Joseph. And they let it slide. They didn't, if they noticed it, they didn't care. A lot of them didn't want to have anything to do with the old country, as they called it, where they were from in Galicia. There was no Slovak Republic. There was the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Same with my mother's side. They were Polish. They came from Galicia. It's an area in the eastern section of southeastern Poland and eastern Slovakia today. They were, in a sense, stateless, but they were also not allowed to own property unless they had German or Hungarian ancestry, and there were forced famines. They were mistreated. So they wanted to leave Europe in the worst way.
In December 1923, Stanko arrived at Ellis Island. His last port of departure was Paris, hinting at a long and difficult journey across Europe before boarding the ship to cross the Atlantic Ocean. His journey begins with the courageous decision to leave his homeland, the Kingdom of Serbia. Perhaps he carried a dream of freedom, opportunity, a life beyond the limitations of poverty. He wasn't just fleeing his past, he was chasing hope for a brighter future. He settled in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, and worked as an open-hearth steelworker at Jones & Laughlin Steel Corporation. It was one of the toughest and most dangerous jobs, with long hours in intense heat and physical strain. In the 1930s, Jones & Laughlin Steel Corporation played an important role in reshaping workers' rights in America. The turning point came in 1937, with landmark Supreme Court case, National Labor Relations Board versus Jones & Laughlin Steel Corporation. This decision upheld the right of workers to organize and bargain collectively, empowering unions across the nation. Stanko not only earned a livelihood, but also aligned himself with the labor movements of the early 20th century, which fought for better wages and conditions. This decision reflects a man deeply invested in fairness and collective struggle for dignity in the workplace. In a way, his steelwork was not just a job, it was a reflection of his enduring commitment to something greater than himself. The records also show Stanko's connection to St. Elijah Serbian Orthodox Church. Immigrant communities often built churches to preserve traditions and create a sense of belonging. This tells me that he had pride in his new life, but the longing for the familiar sights and sounds of home was never too far away. But what sparked his interest? Why America? After speaking with Tim, it made me think. Is America truly the land for the dreamers? And what do those dreams look like? To learn more, I spoke with YSU's Associate Professor of History, Amy Fluker, who explained how this ideal shaped their decisions.
Yeah, the American dream. I do think it's really nicely summarized in the Declaration of Independence. I mean, I think that's what it is. So one of the stories I tell my students about that, one of our sort of early immigrants is the Marquis de Lafayette, a French aristocrat who comes to help the United States fight the American Revolution and ultimately will bring in French support to help the United States win that war. But so he's like 18 years old when the Declaration of Independence is written, something like that, very young. And he reads it and he says, from the moment I read it, my heart was enlisted. I thought of nothing else but to fight for this cause. He hangs it on his bedroom wall. And so obviously those ideals are so meaningful to people, right? And so I think it kind of says it all. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the idea that all people are entitled to rights, and that this is a nation where government is dedicated to protecting your rights. Clear that, like, yeah, beautiful ideals in the Declaration that are very attractive to people, but it takes the United States government a long time to figure out how to make sure everyone is enjoying these protections equally. But yeah, so the 1920s was a really hostile time for immigrants. There's some major backlash in the 1950s. A third party movement develops, the Know Nothing Party, a whole party that comes into existence to try to keep immigrants out of the United States. But also there was a lot of pressure felt by immigrants to blend in, to be American, which meant, that the norm was white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. So you don't want an ethnic sounding name because it identifies you as being other.
Professor Fluker helped me see that the American dream wasn't just an idea. It was a beacon. It called out to people like Stanko, promising freedom, opportunity, and a fresh start. But dreams are complex. They're built on hope, yes, but also sacrifice, risk, and sometimes disappointment. Stanko answered the call, fighting for workers' rights, serving in wars. Although far from perfect, it was a movement people around the world wanted to be a part of. Now, with graduation just weeks away, I do this silly thing to shake cold feet off. I picture myself in Stanko's shoes and imagine his life here. If I close my eyes, I can almost see what he saw, feel what he felt all those years ago. Then suddenly, nothing feels scary anymore. This moment isn't just mine. It's a part of the journey he started, and I'm deeply thankful to him for that. Was Stanko happy in his life? I'll never know. But he lived a privileged and exciting one. This small adventure reminds me that while the past sets the stage, it's the choices we make that define the legacy we leave behind. I do believe there are good choices and bad ones. But if we're very lucky, we won't have to face the bad ones or write their prologue.